It's the line in the song that we sang. Even if everything I know is taken away, I won't let go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can we say that? Really say that?
Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode on the podcast. We hope you have been enjoying these episodes as they have been coming out. This weekend, we watched a powerful testimony of one of our members, Nikki Pillay, and talked about how God identifies with us. Let's jump into the discussion.
Well, like, what are some times that, like, you've, like, because the message was about, you know, he was also weary and he felt our weariness. Like, what were some times in your life where you really felt that, like, where you were weary and then you had that experience of knowing that Jesus felt your weariness?
Wow, that's a good one. That's I think a lot of the interaction with that comes through faith, right? So it's I've never been a person who has like the feelings of Christianity. I don't know. I would love to be that person. I would love, and I was in the charismatic movement. So the charismatic movement's I was raised in that. It's very much in tune to the feelings of the Holy Spirit and experiencing God in that way. And I've never had that ability, but by faith, I think I've engaged in that. In that, like, it's to me, it's very mental. It's a mental assent to the fact that Jesus experienced that, Jesus did that, Jesus is there, he's here, and I'm trusting in faith that that's true without any bodily responses that are telling me that. There's a guy, J. Gresham Machen. I think it was him. Again, I get on this podcast, and if anyone that's smarter than me is listening and saying, no, he butchered that, okay, I butchered it. Like, I'm going off the cuff here, so people need to recognize that. But I think it was him that when he had doubts. Like, I think that's why I talk about doubt so much for myself, because I think it was him that struggled with doubts, but apologetically in his mind, he could go back and realize that it had to be truth. Yeah. And that was impactful for me, because that's kind of how I've always, it's a very mental thing to me. That's why when we started this series on John, we started with apologetics. I mean, it's like as you push back into apologetic arguments, I can't escape the fact that there has to be a God. As I push back into the arguments for the sufficiency and the reasonableness of Scripture, I can't escape the fact that Scripture says that Jesus is God, and that it's reasonable to believe that. And then I by faith, I mean, there's the faith aspect. My life is different, like, than it was before. Like, I can't escape the fact that I'm different. Yeah. Those are the things I latch onto. So in weariness, I mean, if it was weariness of ministry, I mean, I'm the guy that quit ministry. Like, so, you get a lot of pastors that, I quit the pastorate. When I was in my 20s, I planted a church, and it was a successful church plant, and church planting's difficult, and you don't make a lot of money. Yeah, I wasn't making a lot of money. I was the single guy on the team, and all the married guys are getting good, better salaries. Good is relative, right? Yeah. Better salaries, and I'm the guy that's working my butt off, and I'm single, and I'm not getting paid well, and I was far from home, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to quit and go become a lawyer. So I guess in that instance, I felt the weariness of ministry, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And it did, it's God's plan in my life. I don't deny that, but it doesn't always lead to the right response by us. I don't know. I guess that's not the right answer, because I don't know that was necessarily the bad response.
No,
because
that was good.
God worked in my life in that. I wouldn't be here where I am today. Yeah. So I think there's the reality reality behind that. But I guess to answer your question, we gotta think by faith. Everything's faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the hinge in which all this turns. That's what the
Well,
reformers said.
I have another question that refers to faith. For you or any of the other guys on this, but you specifically mentioned that this past weekend we watched the story of Nikki, and you specifically mentioned that you learned something from watching Nikki's faith during that. And we all watched the testimony. Some of us had the opportunity to talk to her. So some of that question, what are some of the things that you or anyone else here learned from watching Nikki go through this trial that she went through?
Yeah, Nikki, there's two people that have impacted my life, I think, like not a lot of people lately. Nikki and
Paula.
And so you have these two women that Nikki went through horrendous medical issue. Paula, medical issue, horrible. And yet they stand in faith and they worship God and they trust in Jesus in such a way that is like life transforming. And that's why I made the statement up there. I said I play Christian at some level. I'm playing Christian.
Yeah.
That's like the reality of Christianity when your life is on the line and you're saying, my sufficiency, the sufficiency of my life, the joy of my life is not the fact that I will even have it tomorrow. It's that Jesus, that I have Jesus. It's the line in the song that we sang. Even if everything I know is taken away, I won't let go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can we say that? Really say that?
Yeah, and I think that's good, and that's a great point. Even where we're at, like, I'm not going through a major trial like that, but the encouragement is the things I put in my life right now will prepare me for whether it's death or something like that, because you're forming a relationship, and someone like Nikki and someone like Paula, they had that relationship before the trial.
Yep.
And I think through the trial, it strengthened their relationship significantly.
I think how we have to think as Christians, and I'm convinced of this, is that we have to have the mindset that we are at that place today.
Yeah.
Right? Not if that happens or how am I going to respond when that happens or whatever it is. We have to. When I was singing that song this weekend, I was at the mindset that I lost my children, I lost my wife, but he's still enough.
Yeah.
I lost everything, and he's still enough. I was listening to J.D. Greer this week, and he was talking about someone that wrote a hymn. I can't remember the hymn. Someone help me when I'm
Come Thou Fount.
It is well
Amazing
with my
Grace.
soul.
but he's talking about the fact that he was going on. He was sending his family as missionaries.
It is well with my
Yeah.
soul.
Yes,
Well, yeah.
overseas. His wife and his children went first on the boat. He got the news that the boat sank. His wife and children are gone. He gets on the boat. They get to the spot where the boat sank in the ocean, and the captain told him, "This is where your wife and your children went down." He went down to the base of the boat and he wrote that hymn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is well with my soul. That's where we have to be today. Not in our mindset. We have to be. We have nothing but Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus is my sufficiency for my life. All these other things are how I glorify. I take joy in my children, of course. Don't get me wrong, or my wife, but I don't find my sufficiency in them.
Yeah.
We have a saying in my family. None of my kids will say, "I love you more than anything," without making the statement, except for Jesus.
Wow.
After that, no, you don't love. And I say it to my kids, and I've said it to them since they were babies. I don't love you more than anything. I don't. Like, I do not love you more than Jesus. And my kids they'll say, "Oh, I love you more than anything," and then one of them will go, "Oh, except Jesus."
Yeah.
But that's the mindset.
That's good, dude.
Yeah.
So I have a question. You talked about the work ethic of Jesus this past Sunday, and how like it's so unnatural to what we experience here in culture. So what does that mean for us? Is
Right.
that something we should change up in our own lives, or what does that look like?
That's a crazy fine line, isn't it? Because I'm sitting up there and of course the first thing that someone would say to me, and I was thinking it while I was saying it, is someone would say to me, well, we wouldn't work at the expense of our families, right? Oh. Well, I would say it this way. If the motivation for your work is material gain, yes, that's sin, right? And so it's what is the motivation for the work? So is the motivation for the work because you're greedy, because you want fame, power, money? Yeah, then you got an issue. Jesus's motivation was the glory of God, and he gave it all he gave his entire life for the glory of God.
And Jesus's work was ministry.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's that way with his carpentry.
Yep. and now bring that in, though. We could even say, what about the pastor that is a workaholic and his kids hate the church now because the church was more important than his wife and his children?
Yeah, that's where it gets a little really tricky.
And that's an issue too. Like, that's an issue. Like, you shouldn't. The response of your children is that daddy didn't love me as much as he loved his job, that's an issue.
Yeah.
If my children are saying my daddy didn't love me as much as he loved Jesus, and they glorify in that, that's a different thing.
Well, and I think there's a difference between job and ministry, right?
Right? Yeah.
Is it you're at a restaurant and you pray for someone? That's just an overflow of your life.
Yep.
That's different than, oh, I'm doing this X, Y, and Z.
And I think what I'm talking about is transforming your work life into ministry.
Yeah.
Your work life is ministry.
Yeah.
The mundane repetition of life, traveling. Jesus' traveling was ministry. He returns from the dead, and one of the first things he does is ministry as he travels. It's taking the mundane. Why stop passing over life and start living life to the glory of God. So can I as a pastor, can I be a workaholic in a way that glorifies God? Workaholic's a weird word, but you understand what I'm saying. A workaholic in a way that glorifies my God and ministers to my children in a way that they love God even more than they would without me being like that? Or am I the pastor that's a workaholic and my children are saying, it's pushing my children away from God? Like, you have to have the focus of glorifying God in that whole thing, and making sure that if you're doing something that's pushing your wife and your children away, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it in such a way that glorifies God and shows your children that I love Jesus more than anything, but I love you just as much, and this is how we're going to glorify him as a family. Yeah. I mean, bringing my wife into it and my children into my ministry, as opposed to neglecting them for ministry, two totally different things.
Well, and I think there's a difference between putting on ministry and putting off ministry, or having ministry be your life.
Yes.
There's if you're just putting it on when it's convenient and your kids don't see that, of course, then they're going to see you just put this thing on and then you neglect them. If it's part of your life, your kids are involved in it.
And I'm going to say this, and then I want to hear Robbie, because he's a pastor's kid. But I was going to say, you just said that. That was perfect how you said that. Are you putting on ministry as an ungodly? You can take a godly thing and make it ungodly.
Oh, yeah.
Are you putting on ministry in an ungodly way where it's just about you? Or is ministry, you don't have to be a pastor at this point. Your life is a ministry to share the glory of God and the witness of Jesus to the world. And it's not being a pastor. It's living your life in ministry. Yeah. That's about glorifying God, and it's not about me, and my children recognize it. But I want to hear Robbie.
Yeah, no, I think I really relate to this question a lot, especially with like your family and involved in ministry. I think that's something that growing up, my family learned. Everybody's got to learn it in a different way. But from early childhood to like when I was in middle school, high school, we participated in ministry differently. And my dad was always very involved in ministry, and I think he learned as he got older, hey, I have commitments and things I need to be involved in, and instead of it just being me, I'm going to bring my family in with me. And so we have time as a family. We have time together, and together we're serving.
Yeah.
And that instilled into me the importance of the church, the importance of service. growing up. And so I'm very thankful for my father for doing that. Like, and yeah, it's you run the risk of, a foul attitude of, man, I'm always at the church and I'm never able to do this. But honestly, at the end of the day, you can't protect attitudes. All you can do is serve God, and there's no better example you can set for your kids than having them watch you serve Jesus, and then inviting them to serve Him with you.
Yeah. Chris, for example, I love seeing your kids here in the front row on Saturday or Sunday or even during the week. I think that's just a great example of it's a family ordeal.
And I'm conscious of it because I say that to Ashley all the time. I don't want them to get sick of church. And I think there's a line we have to walk. Like, am I engaging with them in it, or am I neglecting them because of it?
Are they just sitting in your office while you work?
Yeah, exactly.
Or is there something that they can be doing? You know what I mean? Like, if you're over there just writing a sermon, they don't need to be here too. But if you're serving, doing active ministry with people, like just having them even see that, and as they get older, they can participate in it more. It's invaluable.
No. I'll admit, for the podcast audience, that it's not a perfect illustration. Like, to say that Jesus would have been a workaholic like us, it's not perfect, but I think we can gain some insight into how because Jesus came to die for us, but he also came to show us how to live.
Yeah.
Right? And this is how he was a worker. Work is a creation ordinance. Yeah. God labored. So for us to not work it's ungodliness, to be honest with you. There's an ungodliness to laziness.
Thanks for listening with us. We hope these conversations encourage you throughout the week as you reflect on the weekend message. We would love if you could share this podcast with a friend or family member who you think might be encouraged by it. We also want to answer your questions that you might have about the weekend message. So please call or email the church if you have any questions.